Hello everybody. I'm gonna talk about AWS Cloud Development Kit, or CDK as it's abbreviated. My name is Ari Palo. I work here at Alma Media as a solution architect. First, a bit of a background. Yes, clicker problems. So, what me and my teammates build currently, we do all sorts of shared web services and APIs, and all sorts of integrations between systems. Also, we build browser, JavaScript utilities, libraries, and some UI and React components. So basically, if you visit any Alma Media sites like Kauppalehti, Iltalehti, whatever, you're most probably gonna hit some API or your browser is gonna execute some JavaScript made by me and my teammates. That's for the background, and as usual, we have many resources in AWS doing all sorts of stuff, and this is a bit of the history of what kind of a tech we used to take advantage of the AWS cloud. There are a couple colleagues here who will know. They have helped us get here, and some things there are still some legacy somewhere going on, and of course everyone has legacy. I at least hope someone else also have it, not just us, but mostly we are using CloudFormation and Terraform at the moment, so in that sense we're doing good, and of course there's always some shell scripts, but that's the thing at the moment. We don't have any Puppet or Chef or Vagrant anymore, but still some Ansible might be somewhere. And and of course it also when you start using AWS, it usually starts with the manual approach with the web console UI. I suspect that good many of you, when you started with AWS, it started just like logging into the web console UI and clicking through and finding things out what there is. And yeah, it's good. It's easy to get started, and it's easy to understand the concepts when you have like visual support there, and the UI provides good tooltips and sensible defaults. But of course, the bad thing in that is that it's not reproducible, meaning that you can duplicate the environment. If you build a first environment by hand, then it's a lot harder to make, let's say, two similar environments into another account. So, and it's also, if it involves manual steps, it's error prone and it takes time. But this is something that people usually start with. And if there's the screenshot is S3 console, so if you need to remember all the steps you do there to set up a bucket and you have to duplicate it, it's a lot of work. Then usually the next step that people take from it is the scripted model, that they take either the AWS CLI or the SDKs, or they use some tooling around the AWS API and they script it, because that's the developer thing, that okay, I'm doing some manual steps and it's slow and painful and error prone, so hey, I write a script and that's gonna manage the work for me. And it's usually great, especially for creating new resources. Of course, this depends on what kind of scripts you're doing, but many times there's problems or challenges when you have to deal with all sorts of error situations. For example, if there's an API error or some resource fails to be created and so on. And then what about updating existing resources and managing rollbacks? So there's also all sorts of steps that you have to take into account. So then there's usually the next step is using some kind of resource provisioning engine or infrastructure orchestration, whatever term you like to use. These are tools like CloudFormation from AWS and HashiCorp's Terraform. The good thing with this is it's easy to automate those, and it's easy to reproduce the like several similar environments based on those, let's say, CloudFormation templates. But the bad thing here is that, okay, well, this is again opinion, but it's a lot of configuration syntax, and it can get a bit of boring to look at a lot of configuration syntax at times. And then also there's no really abstraction. There's just a lot of details. So there's like an example of some old CloudFormation template of mine which says simple network, but it's still like 200 plus lines. So I don't know if it's that simple or not, but it's still not the best possible situation, at least I think so. Then there's these tools that sort of fit under this term called document object model, or DOM, tools like Troposphere or GoFormation. To be honest, I haven't used those. I wished I would have, but haven't. But I thought I'd mention them here still. The good thing about those that it's real code what you're writing. Troposphere is Python based, and CoFormation is of course Golang based. And you describe the desired state with code. But again, the bad thing is that there is no abstraction really, that you still need to write a lot of stuff like couple hundred lines for VPC network again. So this is actually what I talk about was I shamelessly stole from this really excellent reInvent 2018 presentation. Seriously, Google that Dev 372. It was about infrastructure as code with AWS CDK, and they sort of set this this sort of line from low level to high level tools, which starts from manual approach, then scripted, and then all the way to the AWS CDK, which I'm going to talk more soon. But I think, of course, the reality is something like that. It's a bit fuzzy. Where do you fit like configuration management tools? And I think everyone who has done work with CloudFormation has done like templating them, that they use some of their favorite templating language there and produce CloudFormation like so. But enough of that background. Let's jump into the CDK and what it really provides, or what benefits it has in this context. And the main thing about CDK is that it provides it adds abstraction. The way it adds abstraction is providing these three layers called application, stack, and construct. How it works that in the top level you have the application, and it consists of one or many stacks, and within a stack you have these constructs, and these constructs are really the interesting part about the CDK. Instead of defining like pure resources like in CloudFormation you can use these ready-made constructs that AWS provide, or you can build your own constructs and reuse them in various places. What construct is? It is AWS resource, or it can be multiple resources that are somehow related together. Of course, they don't have to be, but usually you package constructs in a way that it has like the resources that are somehow related to each other. And after that, there's a command line tool called CDK, and you use that to synthesize CloudFormation out of those. So you basically write these CDK applications, you use real code, and then you sort of synthesize or generate CloudFormation templates out of them, and then in the background it uses the CloudFormation engine which provides or provisions the resources there. The good thing is that it's like it also has like these all sorts of little helpers that help you manage some of the pain points that writing pure CloudFormation has. And one thing about adding abstraction is sometimes problematic, that if the abstraction fails for you, that if the abstraction doesn't cover your use case, it sometimes can be really annoying with some tools that you can't access the lower level. But the good thing about CDK is that you can still drop like one level down, and if there isn't like a construct, or you can't build a construct for yourself, you can always use the CFN resource below it. So it's like works really well. How do you write these CDK applications? Well, at the moment the support is for TypeScript, JavaScript, Java, and .NET. And there's also upcoming languages. Python, I think, is the most like almost, well, not almost complete, but like most further in the progress. And then they're also working with Ruby, and there is an issue about Golang, but I don't think they have done any real work with it. It's based on this open source library called JSII, which allows other languages to use like JavaScript classes and JavaScript modules. So it's the JavaScript application or TypeScript application which actually does the work, but you can still define your CDK applications and the stacks and construct in Java. So if you work in Java, you can declare your infrastructure with Java. I don't actually know how this inner workings of this. It's over my head. So, but if you're interested, go check out the GSII module. So yeah, a bit of a demo time to show how this actually works. as I said, I hate creating VPCs because it's usually quite many lines of configuration. Also, I prefer doing Lambda and using managed services, but that's another story. But let's create a VPC with the CDK. And let's see if everything goes well. There has been some network issues today here at our office, so brace yourself for failing demo, but let's see. So yeah, first let me show the application. So I have actually cheated here. I have already run the CDK init scripts. You can init it with your language of choice. I currently have a TypeScript setup here going on, and as you see, I have cheated a bit that I have already some things there going on with commented out. But the CDK app, and also I have actually installed some of the dependencies already with npm, so npm install and dependency name, because I want to avoid the network issues there. First, you have the application. I have this demo application here, and I import the CDK main library. I initialize the CDK application, and then I say app run. But okay, currently this doesn't have any stacks within it. So let's define the VPC stack. I have this file called a network stack here, networkstack.ts, and then we're gonna start importing stuff we need. So of course, always we first import the CDK library. So it should be there. That's important. Then it's what the CDK stack is. It's a JavaScript class that extends a CDK stack class, and then it's exported. So let's do that. Export. Let's call it network stack, and it extends the CDK.stack like so. I have something there. Oh, yeah. What I'm doing? Oh, I forgot the class attribute. Yeah, of course. And then we need to define the constructor there. And these CDK stacks, they take the scope in which the class is run. So let's say cdk.app. So we always pass in the app as first. Then we have a name. Sometimes it's called ID, but I usually use name, which is string. And let's hide the terminal a bit. Too much. Well, and then we have optional props, which is of type CDK stack props. Yes. And then we need to call. Then we need to call super as well and pass in the scope, the name, and the props. So now we have a stack here, but whoops. Let's see if I can get the terminal back. No, not there. New terminal. Okay, here I have in the background I have a TSC running, which just compiles TypeScript to JavaScript. So let's go here, and as I've initialized the CDK app, so I don't need to do that. But now I can synthesize the output. But as I don't have really, I also need to add this network stack here to the application. And now if I synthesize it, it should say that it prints out CloudFormation, but it doesn't really have any resources other than some metadata. So now let's do the actual VPC network. And the VPC network actually lives within the EC2 module, so let's import that one there. Let's take that one like so. Now we have the EC2 module going on, and we need to instantiate it. VPC network, and the signature of these CDK constructs is that we first pass in the scope, which always is the like you put this operator here, and then you pass the name. This name is it's not the same as if you provide, let's say, VPC network name tag. This isn't the same, although this can be used when creating, or actually CDK uses it in the background for naming things. But this is mostly for the CDK itself. So let's call it AWS Fin network, and then we need to pass some props to it. So let's create a props object. And of course, the most important first thing that we usually give network is the CIDR. Let's give it something like this. It's actually weird typing this low. Feels weird. Sorry about that. Something like this. Ignore the IPs. I hate subnetting. I suck at it. So now we have the CIDR, and of course VPC itself is not enough, so we need to create some subnets. So how we do it? We pass it the subnet configuration, which is actually an array, and it takes objects about a subnet. We can give the subnet a name. Let's say this is a public subnet. We give it a CIDR mask. I don't know. I'm just throwing something here. Then we also need to provide the type for it. So what kind of a subnet we want it to be. So here we start sort of going into the abstractions of what CDK provides. So we're gonna say it's this sort of subnet type. This is sort of an enum value. So we say okay, public. Now here's we have one subnet defined here. So let's do some magic of copy pasting here and create private. And then isolated. Isolated means that it doesn't have a route to internet. And here you have a simple network. Well, then there's one thing to notice here, that the CDK uses some like logic that it checks that to which region you're deploying into. If you're deploying, let's say, to Ireland region, which has 3 availability zones, so by default this CDK will make actually 9 subnets here. So it splits this CIDR mask, and it calculates this subnet so that depending on how you configure the CIDR mask, of course, and how many IPs you have available, but it basically does public, private, and isolated subnet per each availability zone. And then a bit of more magic. Let's say your application or your infrastructure setup is so that you have most of your application servers in the private subnet. So you want to have the most available IPs there. So you can just take away the CIDR mask definition from the private subnet. So this means that CDK will allocate all the remaining IP segments into the private subnet. And now if we run CDK synth, we should get, hopefully, there's the output. It basically does this CloudFormation for us on behalf of us. So let's actually output this to file so we can see it a bit better. We can pass in the output flag and say, I think I have a CloudFormation folder there. Yeah. Hope so. Let's see. Yeah. And here's the actual file. So of course this contains all the metadata, so you wouldn't write this by hand, but yeah, it's like almost 500 lines of code. Then if we check, this has actually not gateway. It's actually easier if I use just grep to show this. Let's say CloudFormation and network and grep not gateway. So it's a bit hard to read with this this size of a font, but there basically is 3 different subnets now. There's not gateways. There's not gateway in subnet 1, 2, and 3, and so it's like a highly available setup, or in a public subnets 1, 2, and 3. But if you want, for example, for your development or QA or testing environment, if you want to save some money, and who doesn't? So there's a, let me organize a bit here. So you can provide to this VPC config, you can just say that not gateways. The default, it's takes the amount of maximum availability zones, but you can say just, okay, let's put a 1 there. And now if we synthesize and then we grab the same thing, we can actually clear the screen so it's a bit easier to see. So now we can see there's only one NAT gateway in public subnet 1, but there's actually is routing done from the other subnets to the subnet 1 NAT gateway. So it's all the CDK also, the VPC network construct in CDK handles the routing also, so which is super handy. So that was basically we can also actually deploy it if we have an internet connection. Let's see, CDK deploy. This is usually the part that breaks the demos when you use something from the internet. And yeah, it's just does some, it synthesizes the CloudFormation. It starts deploying the stuff. Let's see if I have still my session going on here. Yes, I'm in luck. Let's see, CloudFormation. And here, Network Stack Ireland is going on. It's provisioning stuff. Actually, it's already create completed. We can check out the VPC, what has happened over there. And here it is. Network Stack Ireland AWS Fin Network. And also subnets. Oh, this is small. Well, I don't want to figure out which of these. Oh, here. So there are quite many subnets done for us. So that was creating the VPC, and personally I like this because this is about 30 lines of code, and it's actually the code. As you saw, I made a bunch of mistakes there, but because it's TypeScript and it also has the type definitions and all the IntelliSense support from the editor, it's like helps me out quite much. So instead of always like Googling the CloudFormation documentations that what the hell am I supposed to put here, you can get always the auto completion and the helper tooltips from your editor. So that was the VPC demo. Let's make another demo. Let's see how this one goes. Luckily I have my cheat sheets here, so yeah, now we're gonna do a stack that actually does 3 things. It still has one CDK application, one stack, and one stack actually. And I've actually drawn this a bit weird because actually there are several constructs there, which defines these S3 buckets, lambdas, and dynamo tables. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna do a S3 bucket, and user uploads an file there. It sends an event which triggers lambda, and then lambda is gonna take the file name, and if I remember, if I got it working, hopefully the contents. Let's see what happens. So I'm gonna close this network stack. I'm gonna comment out these silly little other things here, and I'm gonna actually import the notify stack, which I'm gonna build soon. And let's clear the screen a bit. What's there happening? Yes. And I'm gonna open the this one here. So again, let's start here. We're gonna again import the CDK here. AWS CDK, like so. Then again, we're gonna export a class. Let's call it. It was notify object stack, something like that, which again extends the CDK.stack, like so, and then constructor again. Yeah. Scope, CDK app, name string, and optional props, CDK stack props. Stack props. And then we need to call super duper scope name props. So let's test everything is sort of working. Yes, again we get an empty stack with just metadata. So let's start creating resources. We're gonna first import the S3 module, AWS CDK S3, and now we're gonna create a bucket. I think Finns love a bucket, so I had to have a bucket in my demo. New S3, but let me close the terminal again. New S3 bucket, and again this is a construct, so let's take that one still out. This is a construct, so again we need to pass the scope first, and then we give it a name. Again, this isn't the name of the bucket, the actual name, because the bucket name must be globally unique, but this is just here, this is like a logical name sort of within the CDK stack. So let's just call it, I don't know, my bucket, something that definitely exists. Then some props, and then we need to create the bucket name, which is like, I think if we leave it out, it will do something random there, but let's say this is AWS Fin 19 January Alma something bucket. I hope that is free. Don't you go and create this bucket now and ruin my demo. I will escort you out of the door if you do that. Then we're gonna make a Lambda function. So I import Lambda. Again, we require the Lambda. Here. Now let's say instantiated new Lambda. And one thing to note that we're gonna use this function class, which is again a construct. But if for some reason the function construct wouldn't be enough for us, we could just use the CFN function here. This is the actual CFN resource, so you get all the low-level stuff if you need to do something really custom that the construct doesn't provide you. Again, we provide the scope. We say some name, my func, some props. And of course we can give a function name. Let's copy paste this one here, but instead of bucket, let's say func. And what Lambda function really needs is you need to provide it what's the runtime, what's the handler information, and where the code lives. So let's start with the runtime. We can say it's a Lambda, and it's runtime, and it's let's say node 8.10. So there's our runtime defined. Then we say a handler. I'm gonna actually use index.handler. For the sake of brevity, I've done the actual Lambda code already. So, but it exports this handle method there, and then we're gonna give it some code. So usually when you do just plain old CloudFormation, you need to first upload your code into S3 and then reference the S3 URL, or if you use some other tooling like Serverless Framework or AWS SAM or some else, they handle that for you. And we're actually in luck because CDK does this also for us, so we don't have to do all the trickery needed to add the actual code. And this is sort of the idea of CDK, that you can bundle your like the infrastructure and the runtime code in a sense with in a one package, and then deploy the whole thing. So we say lambda.code.asset, and then I'm gonna give it a path. I need to actually check this out because I can remember S3 event lambda. It was S3 event lambda. So I'm basically giving here a directory to which it's tips and handles and so on. Next we need to give it configure an event source. There's actually a module for that called, surprisingly, Lambda event sources. And let's create that. First we need to assign this to a variable so we can reference it later. We say function, and then there's all sorts of methods. Let's pick the add event source. Now we're gonna instantiate a new event source here, lambda es dot, and then we can select. As you can see, there's only 3 event sources at the moment, and you probably know that Lambda supports quite many. So as you can see, it's still work in progress, and they're working hard to get more. But these are the ones you can configure via the construct at the moment. But this is okay because we need the Lambda one, and then we need to give a bucket. So let's say we have to first store this to a variable. So we say a bucket. Then we need to add some props. So bucket isn't enough because, of course, we want to define what events we are interested in. So we do it by saying events, which is an array. And then we define something like, and I need to cheat a bit because I can't remember, it was S3 event type. This kind of a thing. Oh, I have a typo there. S3 event type, and then I can choose from anything, but I'm mainly at the moment I'm interested about object created event here. But again, this is like helps you a lot when the editor supports your work. So now we've created the event source, and we need to allow the bucket to actually, or we need to allow the Lambda to access the bucket. So there's actually, the good thing about AWS is that you can get really like granular security, but it's also super annoying at times because writing those IAM policies and roles can be somewhat frustrating sometimes. So CDK provides this really simple API for certain resources that you grant certain access types for resources. So in this type, we actually gonna need the read access. And then for the read access, we're gonna, because we have the Lambda function in fn stored as a variable called fn, so we just say fn.role. So now the execution role of the function has an access to read from the bucket. Also, we need to pass some information to the Lambda itself that, hey, because it doesn't know that what's the bucket, or I could hand code it to the code, but if I quickly show from here, I have the Lambda code here. So I'm using an environment variable bucket name here. So I need to pass it somehow to Lambda. So lucky for us, the CDK has this add environment method. So we basically say the environment variable name, it was not table, it was bucket name. And then we pass the bucket dot, was it bucket? Yeah, bucket name there. So now the Lambda has access to the bucket, and it knows actually which buckets it needs to access. Then next step is the final step here, sort of, because we need the dynamodb table. So we're gonna import stuff. It was dynamo, and let's say dynamodb require AWS dynamodb, like so. And again, you started with instantiating it, and you pass in this, you pass in some name, let's say dynamo table. And actually, sorry, I need to provide the table. I forgot that one there. And then also, again, some props into it. And we're gonna say the table name is something. Let's again use this one. Table. So, and now I need to do a bit of configuration because I need to define the partition keys. Oops, I have a typo there. And I'm gonna do it by saying table.add partition key, and it takes an object where you first say what the key name is, or what the key name is. I'm gonna use e tag, and then the type, and we can use there something like dynamodb dot oops, I have a typo there. DynamoDB, I need to look it up, attribute name, and then string. So we're defining a partition key for the DynamoDB table, and that's it for now. We don't really require anything else to for the schema of the table. Last bits we need to do some access mechanisms here. So let's say table, and like with the S3 bucket, we have this grant API, so we can grant full access or read data or write data or whatever. In this case, we want to write data. We don't need to read, or we do not require full access, so write data is enough. And then again, we pass the Lambda execution role. And yeah, also we need to pass in the table name to the Lambda function. So again, add environment, and then we say table name, and we pass in the table table name here. Here it goes. And now let's see what the terminal actually shows here. Have I done any errors? It seems that weirdly I haven't done any errors. This is weird. There isn't any syntax error anywhere. Let's see. So now we should have everything ready here. So let's change the terminal, and let's run the synthesize again and see what happens. So yeah, here's all the CloudFormation it created. Let's put it into a file and see what it looks like. Yeah, and it's here. So as you can see, there's like again almost 300 lines of CloudFormation there. So we saved a bit of writing there. And one thing to note that you don't need this. I can delete this CloudFormation folder here. I don't need this to deploy this stack. But let's deploy and see what really happens. CDK deploy. So if somebody made that bucket with the name, so now it's your time to confess if you ruined my demo. Hopefully not. Let's see what's gonna happen. First, it's gonna show you that what it's going to this. Okay, it doesn't really make sense in this small terminal view, but it's like showing sort of a diff type of syntax what you're making, and in this case, it's asking that it's making roles. So it's asking me, is it okay to do these security related changes? You can also pass in like command line argument that you can say that you can only you can make roles, but if the roles get more broader access, then ask me, and all sorts of things. But let's say this is okay, and now it actually, as you see, it's gonna upload the Lambda. It puts it in a zip file and uploads it in a S3 bucket. And actually, one thing I didn't show in this demo, that when you do the CDK init, and after you do a first deployment with the CDK, it's gonna create the S3 bucket called CDK tools. Toolkit something in your account per every region you deploy. So it uses that S3 bucket in the background to manage these kind of things. And let's hope this deployment works. Let's go to CloudFormation console and see what's happening there. Let's refresh. It's not yet there. Why isn't it not? Did I forget something? Yeah, it seems that damn it. I was basically updating stack at the moment. There was already one with the same name, so it didn't create a new stack. Good, thanks. Good point. But anyway, it's deploying to that. Still deploying. But we can, while we wait, we can go to S3. DynamoDB. Open it already. This is the most boring part of like having a live demo about Amazon like resources, when you have to deploy something and wait. let's see the tables if it's already there. I think it is. This is actually, that was my old one. Let's see this. So AWS Fin 19 January Alma something table. So it's already exists here, and if we look at it, it has the partition key of ETHAC. And still working with the Lambda. Actually, I haven't. Well, stack itself, it probably does the delete. I haven't actually tried it, but it probably does the delete for a stack if you remove the stack from the application. Because in the CDK application, what I have here, I'm importing the stack here. So if I remove it there, the most logical thing for it to be deleted, but I actually haven't checked that out, how it works. But that's how I suppose it works. Okay, it's done the deployment, and let's see if we are lucky. So in the folder here, I should have. There's a lot of stuff going on here. I should have something like hello. Yeah, hello txt. Let's see what it contains. Cat hello. Txt. Hello AWS Fin, and actually let's open it up here and put something here, so you believe me that this is really the actual demo. And so yeah, now we have the file. Let's put it to S3 cp copy hello txt. Then we need the S3 bucket name. I really can't remember it because it was so long. Let's copy it from here, like so, and now it should upload. Let's double check that the file exists. Yeah, it's there. And now, moment of truth, if we refresh the DynamoDB, and here it is, hello AWS Fin 19 blah blah blah, so it works. So this was like 44 lines of code about to create this sort of a stack, so I really not like the brevity of how this CDK works. The nice thing about it is when it starts to get longer, these constructs you made, because it's just code, you can use like dependency management tools around them. In my case, because there are TypeScript components, I can use, we have a private registry in npm.js, so we can use that. We could install, like, create a construct that does something. There's like an example of default network setup, so I can just npm install my default blah blah blah. So this is a really nice way because you can basically install your cloud, so to speak. So this way you get to really nicely share these constructs between projects, and like instead of like copy pasting CloudFormation from project to project, this I think is better because these are also versioned. Then of course no tool is a silver bullet, and definitely CDK because it's a really new tool. I think it's gonna be a great tool and really like change the. It's not CDK isn't the cool tool like something AWS announces, something like personalized or some AI something, but this I think this is gonna change the everyday work we do that for many. What it is good and what it's not is that all these features CDK has are based on CloudFormation because it uses CloudFormations in the background. So if CloudFormation doesn't support something, then CDK doesn't support it. And again, it's work in progress, so high-level constructs aren't available for everything. Of course, you can do them yourself, but that's still work. And like regarding documents, is that there isn't necessarily that much like examples and tutorials. So and the documentation itself can be quite granular, so it takes time to understand it. And also, if you Google something about AWS CDK, something you might end up with the older version of the documentation, which can be really confusing at times. And then if you develop lambdas locally, the CDK currently doesn't integrate with the SAM and SAM CLI, I mean the serverless application model. They are working on it, but at the time you can use this LAMP CI Lambda Docker to execute the Lambdas in your local machine. But hopefully they're gonna get like some sort of tooling around Lambda local development with CDK as well. The biggest pain point for me, and I suspect everyone living in EU will be at the moment, is that you can't reference values cross-region and cross-account between stacks. This is super annoying at the moment. So if you're defining, let's say, edge lambda, which has to be defined in Northern Virginia region, so you can't just define it there and then reference it in another CDK stack within the same application. So you basically have to have different application for the another region. CDK works in you can have resources or constructs and stacks made for like many regions, but currently this is a bit of a blocker in that sense, but they're working on it. And yeah, remember this is a preview release. This is what says in their documentation. I've added the picture for drama, but yeah, don't use this version of CDK in production. So the future releases might break things. But if you like living in the bleeding edge as I do, and if you want to use it, there are some steps that you can do to prevent your house building down. So first, of course, maybe don't use it in your most critical stuff. So if something goes wrong or you can't deploy and it ruins your whole business, that's probably a bad place to start using CDK, but you could use it in some not so critical stuff. And when you use it, I'd suggest that instead of using the global, because the docs say that install the CDK tool globally, you should really use this npx tool, which allows executing packages from local place. So you don't have a global dependency, so you can just say npx and the version and whatever, and then use exact versions. So use like package lock JSON and yarn lock in npm world. I guess they're for Maven and NuGet, they're probably similar tools, but use exact versioning so you don't get the situation where some CDK library updates and then everything breaks. And if you want to be sure, you can always use the output flag for synthesize, and it will print these CloudFormations in the directory, and you can put them in version control or S3 or whatever. And if everything breaks with the CDK, you always have the CloudFormation file. Of course, you need to edit a bit, but it basically works, and you can use it and so on. So those are the tips to use it. And why would you want? Well, the reasons I've shown you. It's developer mindset instead of staring at configurations. Feels like programming and compiling instead of like just configuring. Autocomplete, construct abstraction, those asset helpers that help you with Lambda code and stuff like that. And yeah, npm install your cloud. And if you like living in bleeding edge. And now is good time to start looking into it because it's early stages, so you can like influence the development and contribute. So if you like being part of the community, which is nice because AWS is really open about this development. There's some links, I will post these slides later, but basically most of the stuff is done on GitHub. There's also this Gitter chat, which the lead developers are really active, and every person is really helpful. So if you're interested in CDK, go there. And there's the Twitter handles of the two main guys behind this project. So check those out. And yeah, that was it about the CDK. Hopefully some of you got want to try this out. Thank you.